2, and there we go.
All righty, thanks everybody, all of you who are back at it with us, and we are at the 11 o'clock period where we're going to be talking about the about INFOhio's Classroom Database Project, and that we are familiar with ourselves. And excellent. Hey, thank you for joining. It looks like we have someone else from the Management Council with us as well. Excellent. So, Erica, I'm going to go ahead and just kind of turn it over to you, and we're going to have a lot of questions for you. I hope, you know, so we're
okay.
Good.
Good. Do you mind if I share my screen here?
We would love for you to share your screen.
Alrighty, I will do that. And by the way, oh, Matt has changed his name. Look at that. So the other person that I have brought with me is Matt Calms, who is the director of the state software development team. So let me share my screen here. And can you all see, are you looking at
Sure can.
Okay, great. So thank you for inviting us to come and talk to you a little bit about INFOhio's plan that was approved with ESSER funding. It's formally the project formerly known as Remote edX. You'll kind of see that Remote edX branding kind of starting to disappear, fade away. And we're talking about accelerating learning post-pandemic. There were two primary components of the INFOhio plan. The first primary component is supporting the use of high quality instructional materials in the places around the state where they're needed most. And the second component of the plan is supporting high quality distance learning opportunities. Let's see here. Here we go. So just to talk a little bit more about the focus of the first component, we're addressing the academic impact of lost instructional time by maximizing in-person instruction time that includes the use of high quality instructional materials. We're working really closely with ODE's Office of Learning and Instructional Strategies, and some of our key partners in this are the ESCs. A good chunk of this is going to go into digital content, teaching supplements, and instructional tools. INFOhio will be supporting and hosting the exchange. So if you're familiar with that name, that site is going to continue. That's where we're bringing together all of the collaborative resources and services of the implementation partners. The implementation partners, by the way, are Ohio's ESCs, the Management Council's connectivity champions, INFOhio, and who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting someone. Oh, that's awful. Oh, we got a new implementation partner. It's the PBS stations. So they are participating in this as well. And then we have the expertise of the contributing thought partners. That group was previously called the Coordinating Council. And we had some OhioDLA representation as part of that group. And also the site is bringing together with that support of the Ohio Department of Education. And our focus is on accelerating learning. So you can see here some of the key components of that first part of our plan. I won't go through all of these in detail. We are continuing work with our Train the Trainer programs that we were doing. So what was previously called Remote edX Certified Trainers will be called Exchange Certified Trainers. We are also going to continue the work that we did with instructional materials reviewers. So that's an ongoing part of this plan. And we are continuing work that we did with communities of practice, fostering those communities of practice around different educational issues. So. All right, and this is the second part of that plan, and the part that you all are most familiar with and probably most interested in. So for the second component of the plan, INFOhio will be working with one of our sister divisions at the Management Council to deliver a robust K-12 distance learning catalog and registration system. We don't have a tidy name for it yet. The primary goals of this are expanding student learning opportunities wherever a student lives, and allowing that student to remain in the safety of their school building and in the care and the supervision of educators that they know and trust. And also enabling a district to be able to continue to offer a course even if enrollment is low in their district, so that they can keep their great teachers employed. We are in the very early days of the needs assessment. And as I said, we're going to be contracting with the state software development team that is part of the management council. And we want to have a lot of input from OhioDLA.
Good, because yeah, we spent a
Yep.
Better part of a decade.
Yeah.
Our lifelong dream, really.
Yeah, and so, yeah, that's an important piece for us, that we want to make sure that we still are helping make this move, help this move forward, because that's
Absolutely.
This isn't about ownership. This is more about how can we help get this off the ground.
Right.
Good.
because
because
if we
we
couldn't do it, we would have already done it.
Good, because we have a big ask of you a little bit later here in this slide stack, so get ready.
Excellent.
All right.
We're looking forward to that.
So we have put in place that this work is going to need to happen over the course of a couple of years here. So we have put in place a temporary measure to allow at this time ESCs to go ahead and promote their distance learning courses that have seats available. And we'll continue to expand on that as we go, but we wanted to have something, we didn't want to just have the work that you all had done and not have a way for you to be able to continue to promote those courses that are available as we're working on this final product. So if you go to the Exchange, which you can still get there from the old URL of remoteedx.infohio.org, or you can get there from the new URL, which is exchange.infohio.org. You'll find the hamburger menu up near the top right of the screen. And when you click that, you'll see the site structure there. And when you use that hamburger menu and you are looking at the site structure, you can see a new section there that's called expanded learning opportunities. And underneath that expanded learning opportunities, you'll see a link for course list or submit a course. You can also get to these, the course list and the submit a course when you scroll to the very bottom of the homepage of the Exchange and you look for that new section, expanded learning opportunities. And when you click learn more, you'll see that we are supporting some expanded learning opportunities, listing some expanded learning opportunities near the top there. And then we talk about synchronous distance learning from Ohio ESCs. And so when you click, when you look at that page, you also have access to the submit a course and you have access to look at the course list. So looking at the submit a course, we based a whole lot of this off the work that OhioDLA had already done with your course system. So we looked at what you were listing in your course system and included those fields. There were a couple additional fields that were of interest to ODE. So you will see a section there in the form to list who the instructor is, and you'll see a section to list what course materials are being used. All the fields in the form are required, and so is Michelle Carlisle in the room anywhere?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, good. Good. So we kind of used Michelle as our guinea pig here, and she gave us some good feedback on the form. She said, you know, there might be a time when we don't know exactly who we might want to submit the course and we don't know yet who the course instructor will be. And you can just put an NA if you don't know exactly who it will be yet, but all the fields in the form are required. The information will be posted then on the exchange within 1 week of completion of the form. And the course postings are going to automatically expire upon the start of the course. We are asking people that if their course fills and there are no longer seats available, to please contact INFOhio so that we can go ahead and expire that listing early. And we're just letting folks know when they go to submit that they can contact us at support.infohio.org. I wanted to tell you a little bit about the approval process, because when you submit a course, it's not going to instantly go up on the exchange. It is going into a pending section, and we have somebody that is going to go in and approve those. The reason that we're doing that is just so that the submission form is out there, and we don't want somebody to submit something maliciously or with ill intent just to make it appear on the exchange. So we are checking those submissions once a week. We are not making any judgments about the quality of any of the courses. When we get a submission, we're not running it through a rubric or anything like that. We're just verifying with the agency that the course should actually be listed. It's a course that they want to have published. And when they say, yes, it is, we're going to publish it. Now, Michelle's experience was a little bit different because we already knew she was going to submit. So I didn't go back to Michelle. I didn't go back to Michelle and say, are you sure?
Are you certified?
Well, I do have a couple follow-up questions.
Yeah.
Just hearing you today. So are you, is the secondary lookup, is ODE looking at current credentials of the teacher name? And I asked that because I posted Holly Branch. That's not her license name.
Yeah.
It's Huey-Wen Branch is going to show up as her OHID. As I'm posting staff, do I need to post them in the way they're going to show up in the educator search?
At this time, Michelle, no. And here's the thing, ODE would wanted those fields listed. They want to be able to see that information, but they're not, no one's checking it at this time. And we're not, like I said, and like I said, when somebody submits a course, it's going into this pending state. INFOhio is the one that's going in and approving, and we're not doing any kind of judgment. We're just going to contact whoever you listed as the contact, and we're going to say, we received your submission. You ready to have it posted?
Okay.
Yeah.
So as we move forward, right now, we're doing it primarily, we're using ESCs.
That's right.
But we're eventually going to get to the point where we're allowing school districts to be able to do that, which is going to complicate things because
with my ESC hat on, I'm going to drive that conversation. I'm going to let my districts assume they need to come to me to facilitate posting for now. Okay. I've got a couple curriculum directors that'll be like, just like they do with everything ESC. But I think I'm going to approach this as a manner of, you know what? This is a service. This is part of what we do at the ESC. I'm going to coach your curriculum people to post these classes.
Okay, so can you just say that again, Michelle? I want to make sure I understand that correctly. What I think I heard was that you're going to have
I'm going to advocate that if the ECO ESC in our curriculum listservs, I'm just going to take that conversation before it ever gets out to them.
Yeah.
And I'm going to send out to all of the my ECO ESC curriculum directors, hey, there's a new distance learning clearinghouse. I'm facilitating this. If you have a course that has a seat that you'd like to offer, schedule 15 minutes with me. We will collectively post your class.
Okay. All right.
So until I get in trouble for that.
Well, or is it something that should be maybe driven from INFOhio that says that we are at this point doing the ESCs, and maybe it never gets away from that point. Yeah. Or they're saying that, at this point, we're only accepting applications through the ESCs. And that way you do have a level of control and management of it. So you do not have some guy in his garage who decides he's opening up his own, he claims he's opening up his own school and is now trying to gather, pull in state money somehow to teach a course that he is, one, not certified to teach, and is going to create problems for all of us when it comes to graduation and other requirements.
So yeah, so you're bringing up a really great point, and that's something that we want feedback from you on. When we set this up, we set it up just as ESCs for now, just because we wanted to make sure that we had all our ducks in a row before we broaden this to districts. And so are you feeling like you would prefer that it stay with the ESCs for now and that the districts go to their ESC to have something posted? Or do you think that we should go ahead and open it up to districts?
I strongly suspect, based on the way we see usage currently, even post-pandemic, you're still going to have pockets of districts who are really aggressive about wanting to share their courses, but no ability to understand what that's going to look like day to day without someone in their immediate vicinity. You are going to have districts who will be like, oh yeah, we did Zoom for pandemic, we're going to post this, but they don't have the building infrastructure, so to speak, to at least ask those checkpoint questions. Like an ESC, like not all of the ESCs, but many of our ESCs are going to be able to ask those checkpoint questions. What's the teacher setup look like? How often is your bell schedule changing? What are you doing when your bell schedule changes? Are you committing to offering this class at the same time 5 days a week? Just simple, basic, didn't think about that. We run 8 high school bell schedules for a 5-day week. This might not be the best plan.
Okay.
The goal is the next step forward that there probably are ESCs that are going to be in the same boat. Because if there are going to be ESCs across the board that are going to have some challenges with that. So
Ask
And then
about
we're
all
we
sitting-
can help them with that. It'll be
We're
important.
sitting in one that's never done video conferencing.
That's right.
Not, I don't mean that to be malicious at all. It just, LACA takes care of it for them.
Right.
Eric, I have a question that I haven't heard discussed. And I understand sort of that this is in the beginning stage, long overdue, and there's a vision for what this will eventually look like. But my question involves funding. So if I'm sending a student to the ESC or another district via a distance learning class, does the funding follow the student for that?
I can help you with that. But your EMIS coordinator at your ITC has to be able to have direct conversations with your EMIS coordinators in your district. These classes have to remain coded as whatever the current EMIS language is for distance learning option. So it's twofold on the EMIS side. When I'm offering American Sign Language, my highly qualified teacher of ASL is the reporting instructor, but the EMIS screen is reporting contracted services, course delivery. So District A, ASL is being offered as contracted services, whatever that language is today, course delivery option, pointing to an employee of East Central Ohio ESC, OHID, so that the money stays in the district where the student sits, and then the district writes a purchase order for purchase services for the class. But it is an EMIS flag.
Is there a way to get that in from ODE as this rolls out, just so we can share that with the superintendents? It's gonna be a question.
EMIS coordinators like Mary Nisley here, not Nisley now, they have it written out. Newer EMIS directors will call and ask questions. But I don't know if ODE has it or if Mary drafted it as we started sharing courses. So.
But a quick point of clarification though, maybe are we to the point where we're looking at a student buying we're buying a class from a student, or are we talking about a school district buying a class
There's seats.
from, is this in seats?
So, yeah, so this is a perfect question, but I want to circle back to Todd's question too, to do an add-on to that. So we are talking about a district enrolling a student. And that is what we're talking about, even with the whole final product too, is that it is not a student registering for a class themselves. We are talking about a district registering the student on the student's behalf. And for part of that is that very reason that Michelle was just talking about with EMIS. The vision for this and the final product is to have that all integrated. And so I was kind of like looking at Matt as Michelle was talking, because I was thinking, okay, he's taking notes, because this is exactly what, we want this to be seamless, and we don't want a district to be feeling the pain of paying for that one seat. We want it to be integrated so that when they go to register, then there's these EMIS triggers that are happening, and hopefully we can even get it fully integrated with finance too. So does that help answer your question too, Todd?
I think that it does. It's going to create a lot of questions, I think, on both sides of that ledger. Number one, what is it going to cost me and who gets that money?
Mm-hmm.
And number two, why don't I have an opportunity to use this as a revenue generator?
If you have teachers, you certainly do.
Yeah. Well,
I've got 15 teachers that I'm putting in here. That is my engine.
I'm just telling you what the questions are going to be. I'm not challenging it.
No,
Mm-hmm.
that's what I would push back at the districts.
I don't think that you should push back. I think that it needs to be explained.
That's fair.
So because I know that there are a lot of courses that either one have a very low enrollment where this would be very beneficial, so you're filling seats,
Mm-hmm.
or, in a lot of districts, it's the difference between whether that course is offered or not.
Right.
And so I think, like I said, I think this is long overdue. It's a great opportunity for districts that need it. I think there is the challenging of making sure everybody understands and agrees to the funding. And unfortunately, right now, a great challenge to this is broadband access.
Mhm.
And so, I love the goal of putting this where it's needed most. Unfortunately, a lot of the areas where it's needed most don't have adequate broadband access to get some of this done. So, I think there are challenges and fights on a lot of fronts here to bring this to a successful reality.
I agree.
Mhm.
Can I ask one more follow-up question, just based on one of your answers? So are you collectively looking at moving down the pike? Are we looking at a similar transfer of funds as what's happening on Foundation Monthly with College Credit Plus tuition back and forth to enrolled districts? Is that where we're going?
Well, I think that it's going to have to be something that we're going to have to explore and see what we can make work, and see what we can make as painless as possible. But so, and this is part of our ask that's coming up here in a few slides too, Michelle.
Well, sorry.
Yeah,
No, you're fine.
because we do have another presenter coming in about.
Can we circle back to from my perspective, I think that we should roll this out through the ESCs initially and get some standardization and some familiarity until we start promoting this to all the districts. That's just my thought initially.
Hey, Erica, real quick, this is
Yep.
Dave. Are we going to have kind of a reversal in this system so that schools with needs can post as well? Or individuals?
So at this time, I think we're focusing on running through the ESCs as we get this going. Eventually, we would like it to be able to, we would like to be able to have the districts themselves post, if that's for the classes that they're offering.
I'm asking, let's say somebody needs a class, somebody
Oh.
needs somebody, the reversal.
Yeah, that was one of the things we wanted in that previous.
That's a really great point. That's a really great point. We haven't, at this time, we
And
don't
maybe
have that in
maybe
this.
that happens in time, but that was part of our vision. It was kind of a two-pronged thing.
Yep.
Simple form, really.
It is, that's a simple overlay. It doesn't have to be as in-depth as what is being offered, who is teaching it, when is it being taught.
Right.
I got two phone calls on the way down here today. We need French.
And we're hoping that your ask is going to be a committee of us that's helping you with this. So.
Yep, we're trying to get there.
Keep
Yep.
motivated.
So, all right. So I just wanted to give you an example of what it looks like when a class is posted. So hopefully you're seeing where it says upcoming synchronous distance learning courses. The Chinese 1 course is what Michelle has already posted. So that one is up and available. And when folks click on that little tile, they get the full information about the course.
Then you get the seats and then the district just reimburses you for the cost.
Right, I send them an invoice, they send me a PO.
Yeah.
That's it.
So I am going to let Matt talk for a minute here about the timeline and then give you our ask.
Yeah, and I will try to be brief. It sounds like we're running out of time here, so I won't.
Not a problem. I'm just gonna 1 second, just Laura or Michelle, if our people from NEAT jump in, just send them a quick chat message and let them know that we're gonna roll over a little bit. So, because this is crazy important for all of us. Right? Go ahead, Matt.
Okay.
Sorry.
Sure, no problem. Once again, I'm Matt Combs, Director of the State Software Development Team. If you're not aware with what we do, we develop software for schools in the state of Ohio. The primary 3 that we develop are a payroll application, commonly known as USPS, accounting application known as USAS, and then an inventory application as well that schools utilize. So we are working with Eric on this project because we do have a lot of expertise with running software development projects and kind of the methodologies involved with that, and some of the things that help us to deliver a product that is actually meets the requirements of the user. You can see here is a timeline of the project. I won't go through all these in excruciating detail, but the main one we kind of wanted to hit on today were the establishment of a user focus group for this product. Which we're doing in that July through September timeframe. And then obviously that extends also into the October through December in terms of actually using that focus group to help us to inform the specifications of this product and the must-haves, what this product needs to deliver. You can see then by January, we want to have a final project plan, and then we need to make a purchase or development decision. I think this is really critical. And we will not be able to make that decision until we fully understand the scope of what this product needs to deliver. But there are a lot of products out there right now, just through my initial research, that do have course catalogs, allow people to register for these courses. So if our specifications aren't so out of the norm, it may be a purchase versus a development decision, or maybe a purchase decision with a bit of development for integration with some of the specific tools that schools in the state of Ohio are using. So, but that is a decision that we will make obviously by January, and we need the feedback of all of you and others to help us to really form the requirements before we can truly make that decision. And then just in March of 2024, we plan to release a beta version of this, whether that's a custom developed application, a purchased application that we host and roll out, or some combination of the two. We always run beta phases for our applications. It just allows us to keep that feedback loop tight in that particular time frame, and discover any problems that we didn't find in testing and correct those before we roll this out in a more broad production version. So you can go to the next slide, Erica. So this is really where we wanted to get to here. And I know I've already heard a lot of interest from this group and being involved in this user group. So when we've created user focus groups for a lot of our products that we've developed recently, and this has worked really well for us. It helps us to ask the people that will actually be using the platform what they need and how they want it to work. And as I said, as we develop and roll things out, demo what we have, keep that feedback loop tight, change course where necessary. Works much better than us going back for 2 years in the deep recesses of our office and coming out with something that ultimately doesn't provide the user what they really want. So what we have here is you can see there's a link there for a Google form that we've created, and we would like to ask you for nominees for this committee. We do want this user focus group to actually be composed of people that will actually be using this application. We really want end users to be represented. So certainly, I think some of you, after hearing the discussion, certainly fall into that category. It doesn't have to solely be end users. I mean, we could have a sprinkling of other people that have engagement in this process, but may not be directly using the software. But we would definitely like the majority of the people on this user focus group to be actual future end users of this platform, because they're the people that are going to use it day in and day out. And they're the ones that we really need to, figure out have them tell us what the software needs to do and what they need it to do to be able to have it be successful and integrate well into their workday. So happy to field any questions. Try to go as quickly as possible there. But if you have questions, please ask. And once again, we would like you to use that form to provide us nominees.
So Matt, here's a question for you. As far as the DLA, how many people are you willing to accept? Because I would say probably you're going to get most of the people in this room who are going to be on that.
Yeah.
Is there a limit as to how many people you want to have representing DLA, or are you just taking all comers?
That is a very good data point that I meant to mention and I didn't. But overall, when we have ran these user focus groups need to be small. They cannot be large, because if they're large, they're unwieldy and it just doesn't work well. So the number that we shoot for is 10. We'd like to have 10 people total on this user focus group. And so, if we get more than 10 nominees, then we're going to have to determine some form of selection criteria. And we would, obviously want to make sure that whoever the interested parties are represented. So let's say if OhioDLA sends us 20 people, we'll have to take some subset of that, right? And then we'll want, if there's some district end users who are planning to utilize this platform, we'll need them to be represented. So we will make sure that it is composed in such a way that all of the players are represented, but we do want to limit the total number on the committee to 10.
Okay, so maybe in our best interest, we would want to create our own committee, but then have maybe one or two of those people be representatives into your group. That way we can really manage it effectively. Does that sound fair?
Yeah, that sounds totally that sounds like a good idea to me. And then obviously your representative on our user focus group could report back to you. And that's actually kind of how we like to have this work, really. It's sort of a representative body. And, we hope that the people that take part in the user focus group will communicate with others that they, work with or collaborate with and provide their feedback to us as well. But we just like to keep that core group to 10, just because it's just too hard when it gets big to really manage the conversation and those sorts of things.
Perfect. Okay, then that'll be some homework that we kind of work on. It sounds like a new committee that we will be creating for the DLA, and we'll add that to our goals for the year. So that'll be a piece that we'll circle back on and do. But do we have any other quick questions for them?
Yeah, real quick. I'd like to pilot now. I understand 2 years makes an effective case point, but we're ready. There are people and pockets of us that are ready. We have teachers who may not have schedules filled. I would really, and fall semester's a reach because schedules are built. Spring semester, you've got some pockets of openings, especially with kids who don't pick up a spring CCP class or what have you. But we want it to be robust and we want it to be effective. And 2 years is forever. So
Yeah.
we're ready to do both.
And I will say that project timeline that was established is established under the presumption of developing a full custom solution.
Sure.
So if that is not the course we take, it is quite likely that that timeline could be accelerated, because developing the application from the ground up is going to take time. But if we find that we don't need to do that, then I think we could certainly look at accelerating the timeline of rolling this out.
And that's also part of the reason, Michelle, that we wanted to make sure that we had something in place and we can be promoting the what we've got on the exchange now, making sure that we're promoting those courses that are available. Yeah. I dropped the link in the chat, but I can also send Paul the slide stack if you want.
Perfect. That would be fantastic. I just threw a couple links on the agenda, just the link to the database and also the link to the form. So I may pull that one off the form for right now, just so we can maybe do a committee instead, and then we'll maybe use the form to give our nominations of how many people we want to throw into your conversation, but then we'll have another group that'll be working on our end as well to help drive that information. So
great.
Erica,
wonderful.
as we do presentations, are we able to share this information now? Are there any limitations as to what we're allowed to talk about?
No, I think that we can go ahead and anything that we put on the slide, I think is a fair game to share.
Thank you.
Good. See,
Yeah.
we are recording this. That's good.
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. We are thrilled. We always cherish our relationship with INFOhio, as we're all brothers and sisters within the management council, I would like to say. But I think this is going to be a win-win for everybody. And so we're really excited that we want to help.
Absolutely. And we know that we need your input. So thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Erica.
All right.
Thanks, Pat.
Thank you.
All righty. So Laura, maybe we should do a break in our recording and restart our recording so that we can have just a separation in that, just for, because this will be one that will really be circling back